All right, welcome back, my sixth graders. Let's go ahead and get through this homework, starting on the practice and problem solving problems number 12. The first one says, find each part of the percent. It says, what is 5% of 210? This is simple interest formula, which is basically, well, you got the part, well, they actually, this is the percent formula. So if you had it, you would be taking your decimal, move it over. I like to call this M&M, really. Okay, simple as M&Ms. Okay, so we're gonna move it. So we're gonna move the decimal. Okay, and then we're gonna multiply it. Okay, simple as that. So we're gonna move the decimal two places and multiply. If I move the decimal two places here, it goes back twice, and I'll have 0.05. Next, I'm going to multiply 0.05 to 210. And some people might be saying, shouldn't you be using cross multiplication? Let's see what happens if I did. I would be taking 5% over 100%. Then I would be putting, it says of 210, so I'd be putting 210 over here, and I'm finding what's above it. So that means I'm taking 100 times x, and then that has to equal 210 times 5. All right. Now, you might notice when I get to dividing this 100 away, I'm going to have it over here over the 5. And that 5 divided by 100 is really going to give me what I'm looking for. It's the same thing as 0.05, right? Because if I take 5 and divide it by 100, I'm moving the decimal back 2 spaces. So you see we got 210. When I multiply it to 5, okay, multiply it to 5 and divide by 100. Dividing it by 100 is making it go back 2 spaces. So we got 5 times 0, that's going to be 0. 1 times 5, that's 5. And then 2 times 5, that's 10. That's 1,050. Okay, so that'd be 100x equals 1,050. When I get x by itself, that's dividing 100 away from it. So that's moving the decimal back 2 spaces. So x is going to equal 1 or 10.5. Okay. Let's see if when we multiply these together, we get the same result as cross multiplication. We're taking this, multiplying it to 0.05. We're going to have 5 times 0, which is, again, 0. 1 times 5, which is 5. And then 2 times 5, which is 10. We don't do anything else, but we realize we have 2 decimal places here. We've got to move a 2 over here, 10.5. You see how we get the same answer? All right, let's go ahead and work number 14 now. What percent of 32 is 5.6? Okay. So what we learned over here is we could take uh, the percent and multiply it after it's been turned to a decimal. This time we have what percent of 32 is 5.6? Well, we're using the percent equation, and that's the part equals the percent times the whole. Okay? So we really did the same thing over here. We took the percent, which is 5%, right? We multiplied it times the whole, which is 210. But before we were allowed, remember this was 5%, before we were allowed to go ahead and multiply these two together, we had to realize that we had to turn the percent into a decimal, which made it 0.05. And that's how we got 0.05 times 210. That equaled the part. So we're doing the same thing here. This time the part is going to get multiplied, okay? Part times 32 equals what? So we're going to be taking this, and it has to equal 5.6. All right? We're doing this because this time we're trying to find the percent. So the percent's missing. We have the whole, right? The whole is 32. I'm just going to erase this over here so it's a little bit easier to see. The whole this time is 32. We're looking for the percent. Why don't, and that's going to equal the part, which is 5.6. Okay? We're going to substitute the percent with a variable, and we're just going to call that variable P for percent. Does everyone see how we got 32 times P? 32 times P has to equal 5.6. Now we have to remember to separate 32 from P, we're going to have to divide it away, right? So we're still dividing 32 from 5.6 here. Now we have to see what is 5.6 divided by 32. Well, 5.6 divided by 32. We have to remember to bring the decimal up. 32 goes into this one time. We know that because 32 times 32 would be 64. And that gives us a 4 here and a 2 here. Remember, we are going to take 24 now and put a 0 over here. How many times is 32 going to 24 is the question. I know that 3 times 8 gives us 24, so I'm going to go with, how about 7? That would be 14. Okay, the one is 21, 22. So this would be 7 up here with 2, 2, 4. That's going to leave us with, let's see, 16. And we're going to have to see how many times 32 goes into 160. I'm going to go with 5 times. 5 times 2 is 0. Carry the 1. 15, 16. Now it's 160. So now we got 0.175. Now to turn it to a percent, we have to move that decimal spot 2 spaces over this way, which makes it 17.5%. All right, let's head off to number 15 now. Actually, number 16 will be mine. says what percent of 75 is 33? Again, we can solve this by taking, remember that the part equals the percent times the whole of is 75 is the part, which is 33. We're looking for the percent. So I'm just going to name the variable p as the percent. I have 75 times p equals 33. To solve this, I got to divide 75 away. Whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other. I'm going to start using my calculator just to speed things up a little bit now that I've already demonstrated it a couple times. 33 divided by 75 gives us 0.44. So P is now going to equal 0.44. To turn it to a percent, I have to move the decimal over twice, and that's going to make 44%. All right, let's go ahead and go to number 18 now. The meal tax at a restaurant is 5.5%. What is the meal tax on a dinner that costs $24? All right. We have a $24 dinner, and the tax is 5.5. Well, if we use in our formula, and remember the formula is, move up here a little bit so I got some room to move or to work. The part equals the percent times the whole. Okay. The percent is 5.5. And it says the total dinner was 24. So that's the whole. So that's got to equal the part. So when we do this, we're going to get the answer by multiplying 24 times 5.5. 24 times 5.5 is 132. So now that it's 132, I have to remember they're asking what is the tax on the dinner. This was a percent over here. Oh, wow, I almost forgot about that. We have to move that decimal over twice. Let me correct what I did here. I don't want to steer you wrong. Before I'm allowed, because this was a percent sign, don't forget that. And before I'm allowed to use it, I have to move that decimal over twice. So this is actually going to equal part equals 0.055 times 24. So when we do this, this is going to be 0.055 times 24, and that's going to give us 1.32. And since they're talking about tax, that means $1.32. All right, let's go to number, let's see here, number 20 is mine. It says, how many blue cars are there? It says cars here, 45%. So 45 out of what? Okay, we know it's 45% out of 100%. Remember, there is 180 cars, right? So the whole is the cars. So if we set up our equation again, the part equals the percent times the whole. We know the whole is 180. That's 180 total cars. We know the percent was 45%. So that means we've got to move the decimal over two spots. So we're going to be taking 180 and multiplying it to 0.45. And that's going to equal the part. So let's get our calculator out again. We got 180 times 0.45. That's going to equal 81. So how many blue cars are there? 81 cars out of the 180. Make up 45% of them. All right, let's go to number 22 now. There are 27 more green cars than black cars. Wow, okay. There are green cars and black cars here, right? And they make up 25%. It says there are 27 more green cars than there are black cars in the parking lot. Okay, what percentage of the cars in the parking lot are green? Okay, and what percent are black? Wow, okay. All right, first of all, since there are 27 more green cars than there are black cars in the parking lot, and they want to know the percentage of the cars that are green and black, first we're going to have to find out what 25% of 180 is. So let's start there. We got 180. We're going to use the percent formula again. That's part is going to equal the percent. And the percent here is 25%. So we turn that, I'm going to start from the beginning so I don't lose anybody here. 25%. And we're going to multiply that by 180. This means we're going to have to take the part will equal 0.25 times 180. And that's going to equal 45. Now that I know this, I also realize that if there are 45 green and black cars, there's 27 more green ones and black ones. I'm going to have to take 45 and minus 27 from that. It's going to give me 18. Now I'm going to have to divide 18 by 2, since I know that that's going to tell me where they both start off at. So dividing it by 2 will give me 9. So that tells me there are 9 of them that are going to be black cars, okay? 9 black cars. And now, since there's 27 more that are green, I'm going to add 9 to 27. That's going to give us 36. So 36 that are green. That's not what the question asks. The question asks what percentage of each of these would there be? So since we have 180 cars, first I'm going to have to take 9 and divide it by 180. And that's going to give us 0.05. You might say, why did we do that? Remember, the formula is part equals percent times whole. This time we have the part, so this is going to end up being 9 is equal to, and let's see, we had, let's see here, 180, that's the whole. We're trying to find the percent. So everyone see we're going to have to divide 180 from 180 times P, which means we're going to have to divide 9 by 180. Does everyone see how I got that? Since 9 divided by 180 is 0.05, to turn it to a percent, I have to move my decimal over 2 places, and that'll make it 5%. So 5% of them are black. Next, to turn these green, I'll have to do the same thing using the same formula here. But instead of 9, we're going to have 36 is equal to the part times 180. Oops, sorry about that. Which means we divide 180 again. Whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other. Now I have 36 divided by 180. That's going to give me 0.2. Remember when I moved my decimal for twice though? That's going to give me 20. So that'd be 20%. So that tells me 20% of the cards will be green and 5% will be black. All right, let's move to the next one, which will be number 24. Model with math. It says, how can you use the double number line diagram to find what percent of 450 is 270? Okay, so if we take 450 and 270, we know that both of them have something in common. We're looking at these lines, we see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're splitting these up into 5. Okay, if you take 450 and divide it by 5, you're going to get 9, because 9 times 5 is 45. So 450 divided by 5 would be 90. So each one of these is going to be worth 90. All right. And if you take 100 and divide it by 5, each one of these are going to be worth 20. Now it says, how can you use the double number line to find what percent of 450 is 270? So what we're going to do here is count up how much is 270. I know 270 divided by 90 is going to give me, well, we know 9 times 3 is 27, so that means 90 times 3 will be 270. All this right from here to here is 270. And if we come down here, then that means 20, 40, 60 will be from here to here. This tells us that 450, 60% is 450, of 450 is 270. So this should be 60%. All right. And I believe, oh, I got number 26 to do now. Number 26 says, Howard to think a question. Thomas has an album that holds 600 baseball cards. Each page of the album holds 6 cards. Well, if there's 600 total cards and each page holds 6, that means that each one page holds 100 cards. Both of these are divisible by 6, right? So now that I know that there's 100 pages, I have to take 45% that are empty. Well, that's 100 is my total. Multiplying it to 45%. Remember, this is part equals percent times whole. My percent would be 0.45 when I turn it to a decimal. 0.45 times 100%, we move the decimal over twice, so the part's going to equal 45. If 45 out of the 100 pages are empty, that means that 55 pages must be full. So how many pages are filled with baseball cards? 55 pages. All right, that's all that I had to do. Looks like the rest of them are up to you. Good luck, and I'll see you in class to grade.